So I was finally home in the Berkshires after my month-long road trip. And on my first morning back, I went to the creamery to continue writing the tail end of my novel. The whole trip was playing through my mind, and I felt different. I felt light. My soul was energized. And I stopped by the little red house where I grew up to see my family for the first time this year. Big Hooter and Little Danko. And I met Mason at the cabin. He had been away on a trip to Thailand for most of January, but him and Yolani had finished the big windows before they left. And the renovations were really starting to come together.
My God. Look at that.
It felt good to drive my favorite roads and to get back on the cross-country ski trails.
No, the work is definitely taking up a lot of my time.
I think when I
was readjusting my routines, telling my road trip stories to all my closest friends, and spending some great nights with Mason and John Buddha. And we even dreamed up an idea for a road trip together. We would take my '71 Volkswagen van around the country in hopes to meet new people and learn about life. And maybe have experiences like I had with Carl. So we all vowed to take 3 weeks off in September. Hopefully things are back to normal by then.
I wanted to be able to give her small bites on a fork.
Then my nephew Liam turned 3 and my grandma turned 102. And my sister was about to have another baby. I also reconnected with Hunter, one of the guys I built my creative office with. We fell out of communication after he left Trout and Coffee last June.
NPR on. Just the radio.
So this has changed.
Yeah, this. Wow. The You remember this?
I showed him around and updated him on everything that had happened since he left. And we even took a spur-of-the-moment trip up to Montreal to go to some big techno festival. It was one of those mad little adventures that you never forget. It's those short, sporadic trips that keep life interesting. And Noah and I got flown down to Texas to tell some stories for the most renowned cowboy boot brand in the world. We created films that we're very proud of, and I felt content. Because if I'm gonna be doing client work, this is the kind of work I want to do. Telling timeless and authentic stories rather than creating soulless content for the sake of making money. And then my sister had her baby, my new niece, Delphine. She's beautiful.
She's not gonna have my sinus issues, I don't think.
And so February was full of editing for the boot company and a couple other local projects I had going. And I kept up with the skiing, and Mason and I got out a few times as well and breathed in as much cool Berkshire air as possible. I was becoming grounded in where I was at with everything. I had committed to taking back my time, and I was nearly there. I just had to finish what I had started before my road trip. And I may have fallen on the hard crust skiing a few times, but those kind of things happen. And there were more nights out full of great conversations and infectious energy, talking about writing and filmmaking and all our aspirations, and some nights in as well. I started cooking a lot more, something I've wanted to do for forever, but could never find the time or energy. Another tiny win for taking back my time. And overall, winter wasn't too bad. We never got that much snow in western Massachusetts, but the cold sure was hanging on. and I was working on a lot of music all the way through.
I sent my ship riding away. I didn't want to do it, but I had to get paid. If anybody knew, well, it would have been paid. My golden ego deafening down.
And then Mason moved into a new apartment and got a new job.
I don't want to get a dog, you know?
Don't. Oh my God, no.
Huge mistake.
Huge mistake.
Or a cat?
The cat would be cool.
Meow meow, you know?
No, you realize though.
I know. Put like a short-haired pointer, you know?
No, it doesn't matter what kind of dog. It's like having a kid. Then you can't do shit. You gotta go home and feed your dog. You gotta go take your dog.
I about it, okay? I know.
Yeah, I know. What do you know?
No, these days. You think you know about dogs all of a sudden?
Yeah, now you're some dog expert.
Oh, now you're the dog expert.
By the way, I love dogs. They're just a lot of responsibility for certain stages of life. So his apartment is upstairs, and below him is a workshop that repairs headphones and microphones. It's owned by a very smart, quirky guy who has a fantastic vintage car collection. He knows how to build and fix just about anything. Mason was going to be repairing the electronics part-time and learning priceless lessons from the owner all the way through. The apartment was a beautiful new chapter in his life, and we couldn't stop thinking about working on cars and building things all summer. And so more days passed in the office, chipping closer and closer to freedom. And then one night Noah and I were having a beer after a long day of editing when John Buddha poked his head in the window.
Wait, you don't know your street address?
I know the house that I own. Look west, buddy. Leave the East Coast behind now. And leaving home is harder than we ever perceived. Pretend is in the end. Pretending in the end. I loved it, Kyle.
Just that's such like a line that's like so human. Like,
So look west, buddy. It's reality, as it is here in Dalton, Massachusetts.
He had just finished a long day of construction. He came in to have a few beers, and before we knew it, we were fully submerged in a creative zone. One thing a lot of people in his life don't know is that John is an extremely talented storyteller, writer, and musician. He doesn't get to indulge in those passions much because he works so often and he has so many things he needs to get done. He tells me nonstop stories of how he's trying to get his life back on track because it didn't go quite as planned. But he also doesn't dwell in regret either. Above all, he's aware of himself and where he's at. One night he told me, "I know I'm a smart kid and I've done a lot of things. The problem is sticking to them." The first time I introduced him was last August in a video on my channel called Summer in New England. I explained how we grew up together and then grew apart. And last summer was the first time we started hanging out again. And he'll tell you, he spent a lot of time in the mud. But now he's really trying to wash it away. And I see the light inside him. I feel it. He has a pure soul in there. His energy is real and contagious. You hear too many stories out there about wasted talent. And I'll be damned if that happens to John. That's why one night I gave him a typewriter. I encouraged him to start writing his stories down. He's the Neil Cassidy of this new beat generation, the unfiltered wild card of America. His voice will be heard. And on the cold morning after the music night with John and Noah, I woke up early with a foggy head and I went off to a diner to wolf a big breakfast down and write about the night. Little did I know it would be my last sit-down meal for a while. And after most of the snow had disappeared, I took the truck out for the first drive of the year. Over the couple months of being home, my game plan had slowly but surely started to fall into place. I was nearing the end of my projects for clients and had even started drafting out ideas to become fully self-sustainable, like creating a Patreon where people could support Trout and Coffee, designing merchandise, and taking more time to edit these videos rather than having it sucked up by client work. I could finally start posting stories more consistently. These are all things I had written on whiteboards for years but had never prioritized. I was fixated on getting to my other goals as quickly as possible, and that determination made a lot happen for me. It put my life into hyperdrive. So much happened at once that it was overwhelming. I never got the time to appreciate each individual thing as it happened. But now, I could feel something building. A big change was coming. It was going to require going all in, just like when I first quit my pasta sauce job. It would take all my energy and focus and make me work harder than I ever have, but it was my ultimate dream. And on these golden hour drives, I reflected on how grateful I was to be able to do this. To finally bring Trout and Coffee to life.
I'll show you up Brick House Road.
Say again. It's already recording. Can you just...
To build a community of people who understand that nothing good comes easy, and that all happens in good time.
It's a little crooked.
Perfect.